Hey everyone, Once Bitten here at the Battle Report. So we have I have the same list that I used in the last game, my Bretonnians versus an Ogre army. Now again, we're kind of in preparation for an upcoming tournament. The tournament's for a few months yet, but everybody's playing around with lists because using the Swedish system, your list has to come in between a 10 and a 16. It can be softer than a 16, but that's as many comp points as you're going to get. And so I really like this. I love composition restrictions because it forces you to take non-normal stuff. And I can tell you that when I saw my opponent's list, I was really excited to play this game. Both of us came in at a 16. And in this tournament, you're allowed up to 350 points of monsters from the Monstrous Arcana or from the Storm of Magic. You can have only two choices. Only one can be a flying monster, and you can't repeat the choices. So that helps your list get a softer comp score because that's up to 350 points that aren't comped. I can tell you that when I created my list, I wasn't really worried about comp at first. I just created it, and it turned out to be, I think, a 16.5. So I'm not worried about comp in my list. So anyway, that's my thinking so far. Let me show you his list on the far right. That is actually a Razor Gore being proxied by that Hunter model. And yes, he is facing the side. I don't know why. He's got 2 units of Nobbler Trappers. The Great Weapon unit is just being proxied. Those are actually just 8 bulls with the Slaughtermaster in there. He's level 4. He has a level 3 Lore of Beasts, and I know my opponent has a scroll somewhere. He's got a unit of 8 Man-Eaters. They've got Swift Stride and Poison, and the Dragonhide banner. Then he's got another 8 bulls. This one has his Butcher in there. Got 6 Leadbelchers, and then way over here to the side, he's got a unit of trolls. He's using my Minotaurs to proxy him, but basically it looks like 7 trolls with his Bruiser Battle Standard Bearer. So it looks like kind of a weird deployment, but understand that by the time he put his Bruiser and these trolls down, he pretty much knew what I was doing, and he had a specific plan to counter it, which I'll explain in just a second. So I basically castled here on the right-hand side. Really all I was thinking was, I think I have a very, very good chance against this list, but I nevertheless need to pick on units. So at least 2 of my knights into one of his units if I want to make sure I can win it. So my thinking was I was going to use that piece of impassable terrain as kind of a lever, and I was going to push units beyond it or on just the side of it, but use that as a way to spin across and try to isolate his Slaughtermaster's unit on this side, and if he's not careful, I can hopefully pick on that other bull unit on the other side and just blow past those Man-Eaters. I can tell you the Man-Eaters are the only unit he has that I'm really worried about. His trolls have regen, of course, and my unit with the flaming banner is all the way on the right, and I think that's why he put his trolls all the way on the left. I'm sorry, all the way on the right is my +1 movement unit. It's the one right next to him that's flaming. So from left to right, I've got my Knights Errant with one of my Paladins in with them. They've got the Errantry banner. I've got my Giant Spined Chaos Beast, and behind it is my Battle Standard Bearer. My opponent just didn't have any shooting that could hit him, and no magic missiles I was worried about. That's why he's out of a unit right now. I've got my Fast Cav up front, and there's a Saber Tusk right next to him. And then I've got 3 units of Knights of the Realm. The characters are all loaded up in that rightmost unit. And the banners, the one in the very middle is my Standard of Discipline, so my general's not in with that because I just wasn't worried about it. Then Flaming, and then the movement one, like I said. So that's my Vanguard. And of course, Ogres get to go first, so he moves like that. So I think my opponent, when he saw where I was, he knew he had a little bit of time, so he's just trying to turn the board to where the battle lines are kind of like a meeting engagement. And that building was in his way, so that's why he put the trolls way over there. He knew he had time. The only danger is the BSB, but I don't really have the BSB being so far away from his Man-Eaters and his Slaughtermaster's unit. But the thing is, I don't really have, I think I have Amber Spear, but nothing that's probably going to cause a panic test. So you can see him just trying to reform his battle lines. He put his Leadbelchers in that building. His Leadbelchers behind that building is why I decided to castle in the right. I'm not that afraid of him, but I figured why, anything I could do to just make it more difficult for him to shoot with that stuff, why not? And I liked the idea of being in a corner. So look at the middle of the table. He put his Razor Gore right by that piece of impassable terrain. And one thing that I liked about it, he said later that he didn't think it was a good move on my part necessarily, but I really liked, is if you look at my Knight Errant unit, I've got a Paladin in the front left corner, and my Paladin can shoot right past those fast cav and hit that Razor Gore. And that guy has a 1-up armor save, and so I think even at strength 5, I think the chances of Razor Gore wounding my guy is pretty slim. And he's away from leadership and, of course, no reroll. So all I have to do is charge in there. Even if I can't wound him, as long as he doesn't wound me, I'll win by a charge, and I'll probably break him and just get that tough piece of chaff off the table right away. And one thing I like about my list is I like the Paladins. They're okay in units, but I like the idea of bringing them out of units as well. So, Bretonnia turn 1. My original plan was to have at least 2 units go to the right of that impassable terrain, and after this turn I decided not to. Everybody just moved up like that. You can see the Paladin charges Razor Gore. I don't plan on being aggressive here on the left-hand side, but I am willing to charge units if I think it can get me out of line of sight of his Man-Eaters. His Man-Eaters is the only unit I'm worried about. I'd like to get his Slaughtermaster off the table because his magic, of course, can always cause problems, and there's a lot of points there. But his, the Trolls, I'd kind of like to get my Flaming Banner in combat with the Trolls, and that's, in this picture, the unit that's closest to that impassable terrain is the Flaming Banner one. So it won't be difficult after another movement phase to make it such that that unit can charge the Trolls if they decide to get any closer to his battle lines. After combat, yeah, I couldn't wound him, he couldn't wound me. I won by a charge and ran him down. The problem is I didn't run very far, and so now his Nobblers can charge me. So I was actually hoping he would charge me with his Nobblers, because I was thinking that I can just kill enough of them, win combat, and then reform. The problem is after I overran and it looks like, because I'm sorry, the reason I like that, the reason I want to reform is I want this guy to be able to charge his Slaughtermaster's unit, because I can issue a challenge, his Slaughtermaster has to accept it, and I'm going to be, strength 5, 4 attacks, and just I don't think he's going to be able to wound me. So I think I can just hold that unit in place for my other Knight unit to come around and take care of him. The problem is if he charges with his Nobblers, I think I'll win, but he's going to be steadfast 8, and so there's a real good chance that he's going to hold this guy up. Anyway, Ogres turn 2. So the Nobblers do decide to charge the Paladin. Everybody else moves up. You can see his battle lines forming. He has to bring his lead belters out of the building, because otherwise there's just not enough he can shoot at. And I think this is, I think he had like the ruby ring, and I think that did a wound to my fast cav, and I think his lead belcher shot at my Knights Errant and killed like 1. So not wonderful luck for my opponent. Yeah, and somehow, some way, he killed another one. One might have been magic, one might have been shooting. Either way, Knights Errant have been weakened by a couple. And over here, yeah, so it looks like I did only 2 wounds. He had a charge in the flank, and it was a push. So, yeah, not ideal. And it's kind of blocking my other... actually, I don't think it's blocking my other unit of Knights, but for some reason, the other Knights can't charge the Nobblers and overrun into his Slaughtermaster's unit. That would be wonderful. So, oh, I'm sorry. I think what happened was I could have, but he got Curse of Honor here off on that unit, and I couldn't stop it. So I didn't feel it was worth losing 1/3 of the unit. I felt we had time. So on the very top right, that unit just moves up without marching, so I don't have to take those dangerous terrain tests. My Knights Errant and my Giant Chaos Spine Beast charge his unit of bulls, and he fled. And he bounced through his lead belchers, bounced through the building, and they're all the way up in the top left corner. So at that point, I was worried about, if you remember, those 2 units were at the bottommost of my stuff. And my fear was if I had a failed charge, that his Trolls, the BSB, could probably make a charge against him fairly easily. And that, I would just be giving points away. So it was a tough decision. Finally, what I did is I just redirected into his Nobblers. I don't like to have to take dangerous terrain with everybody who charges them, but I figured it was worth a chance. So what I'm thinking is going to happen here is I'm going to beat them, overrun with both, and I'm hoping they both can reach those Man-Eaters. On my opponent's turn, he'll probably countercharge with the Bulls, and I'm probably going to lose both of those units. which isn't ideal by any means, but if I can get both those units into his man-eaters, I'm going to get to swing at the same time he does. And my hope is with the infantry banner being strength 6 and with that giant chaos spine beast, I can do a bunch of wounds to his man-eaters. And I don't have to win the battle, that combat. He can actually have both those units as long as I can get the man-eaters down by, I'm hoping, maybe 3 models. If I can do that, I think I've won the game because I think I can handle every unit in his army except the man-eater. So I'm willing to sacrifice those 2 units, hoping I can do a bunch of wounds. There's a lot of assumptions built into that, but that's kind of what I'm thinking there. So I win combat. Before combat, what I do is I cast Curse of Honor here off on those man-eaters because I'm thinking if I don't make those overruns into him, he's going to charge with the man-eaters, and I want him to take dangerous terrain. And if I do make it in there, they'll be -1 to hit, which might save these units. If they can survive 1 round of combat, that means there's a whole nother round where they can chop away at them. So anyway, if you look on the right, the Gnoblars are still holding up that paladin. They're still steadfast, and that's actually okay. I just need to make sure on his turn that I win that. So Ogres turn 3. Yeah, if you look at the top middle, his unit of bulls with his Slaughtermaster charge into the flank of the. I should say. Oh, go back up. So I forgot to mention it. My Knights Errant and the Spine Beast, both of them overrun and stop 1 inch away from the man-eaters. Both of them failed that overrun. So awesome. So the bulls charge into the flank of the giant chaos spine beast, and the Knights Errant are not even in combat. The problem is he's certainly going to kill, and if he doesn't kill, he's going to beat through combat res the spine beast and then overrun into the Knights Errant. The only good news is he had to take a bunch of dangerous terrain tests, and he should fail 1/3 of them. And I think his man-eaters lost a model. So that's nice. And not sure what I'm showing here, just so this guy's moving up. There's that. That's not... My opponent is going to win that one, no doubt about it. During shooting, he opens up on my Flaming Banner unit and kills some, but not much. I think, let's see, my BSB's in there, and they started with 12, so it should be 13, so he's killed a total of 2 guys there. So that's not great. On the magic phase, he did get off Curse of Honor here on my General's unit. My General is hopped. He started on the far right with the movement unit. Now he's on the far left in my Standard to Discipline unit. So anyway, now they can't charge. So, you know, I like the idea of him overrunning to the flank of my Knights Errant and then double charging his Slaughtermaster's unit with both of these units. But now I have to make the decision, is it worth losing 1/3 of my General's unit in order to do that? After combat, so craziness ensued. I don't remember where he lost his man-eaters, but his man-eaters had 7 guys going into combat, and he might have had some wounds on one of those 7. But somewhere along the way, between the giant chaos spine beast attacking them and doing some wounds, and them taking a second dangerous terrain when they overran to get into the front of the Knights Errant, he lost enough guys that he's down to 4. He had to take a panic test. He's leadership 8, and the BSB's nearby, so he's 8 rerollable. He fails it and runs away, and that's on his turn, which is just awful because I have units on the right that are easily within charge range, and once he pivots, he's probably 4 inches from going off the board. So that changes everything. Now, if he'd gone into the front of the Knight Errant unit, I'm still going to get a flank charge with his General's unit, but neither one. I just don't know how that's going to go. Those man-eaters can do a lot of wounds to those Knights Errant, and if I charge in, I may not be able to do enough wounds and have enough static combat res to win that. So this just is beautiful. I mean, oh my gosh. That was very, very bad luck for my opponent. Bretonnia turn 3. So my BSB's unit charges into the flank of a Slaughtermaster. I did not take the General's unit. Oh, so the General charged out at that unit, and he failed his charge. So he had to take a dangerous terrain, but he passed it. I didn't charge with the whole unit because I didn't want them to take dangerous terrain tests. The BSB's unit is in the flank of a Slaughtermaster. I just really think I'm going to have enough static combat res to beat that, and with his man-eaters off the board, Slaughtermaster off the board, one of his units of bulls off the board, I think I've got the game. If you look at the very top right, I took my cheap paladin, he charged out of the unit at his man-eaters, chased him off the board, and the rest of the unit just reformed. I also charged the Saber Tusk into the unit of Noblars because apparently the damn paladin can't beat Noblars. Yeah, there's that. And this is one I really liked, having paladins available to do that, so I didn't have to commit the whole unit to charging it and then not be able to charge something on my next turn. And there's that. I still can't believe it's taken this guy so long to break these stupid Noblars. And this is the one I'm really, really excited about. So after combat, yeah, look at the number of wounds he did to me. Just none. I mean, look at the Knights Errant. There's, I don't think, let's go up one. Let's see. Yep, he did one wound to my Knights Errant. I'm going to go up again. Sorry about all that. I don't think he did any wounds to my BSB's unit. We just destroyed him and then ran him down. Now, of course, I can't charge anything with these two on my next turn, but I think we're okay. Now, he's got a unit that rallied in the top left of this that isn't too far away from charging those Knights Errant. And if he does, I think I'm just going to flee with him. I can't afford him making that charge. He possibly could charge my BSB's unit, but I think he needs an 11, and I'm willing to take that risk. And after combat, with the Saber Tusk's help, the Noblars are finally destroyed. There's one guy left, he's fleeing at the bottom left of this picture, and everything is as you can see it. So, Ogres turn 4. Yeah, I think the bulls charged my Knights Errant and I fled. I don't know the order of it, but basically the Knights Errant got charged and they fled. And by the angle of it, I think they fled away from those trolls. So I think the bulls charged them, they fled, and then the trolls charged them and they fled, and that's where pushed them way in the top right corner. The trolls also charged my Saber Tusk, and I fled that. I think he was pretty far away, but it just wasn't worth it. I like the idea of him getting a failed charge there. It'll give me time to move everybody around and get a multiple charge off on them. Yep, there's the fleeing units. And the magic, I mean, he only has level 1 Maw now, so I'm not really worried about his magic. So, I move the BSB's unit. I park the fast cav in front of his trolls, so he really can't charge anything except the fast cav. If he charges them, he can overrun and might be able to hit my unit in the bottom of this picture. But even if he does, I'm going to flank charge him before we actually fight that. Now remember, my BSB's unit is the Flaming Banner. So as soon as I've got paladins in there, I think I've got one paladin there now that does not, two paladins that do not have magic weapons, and they have the Flaming Banner. So those paladins go first, they do a single wound, then all my other attacks are going to be able to ignore their regen. So I'm happy with how that happened. My general and the Knights of the Realm at the bottom charged his lead belchers. He fled, he rolled nothing. He rolled like a 3, and I failed with both units. I needed nothing to catch him, and it just didn't matter. You know, it might actually have been a good thing it worked out the way it did. Because if I caught him, I would have been up there really close to those other bulls, and that would not have been great. Knights Errant rallied, the Saber Tusk did not. Yeah, there's the failed charge. And we go to Ogres turn 5. So his Lead Belchers rally, his Trolls charge with the flank of my Fast Cav, and his Bulls that were in the top left charge my Knight unit. He needed an 11 to get there, and he makes it. So that's really not ideal. I mean, I know there's a chance you're going to roll 11 or 12. I knew that odds were he would fail it, and then I could countercharge him. Odds are I would make that. That's a unit that is not charged yet, and they have plus D6 to their charge, plus their movement 9. So I knew I was going to get the charge on him. In hindsight, I'm wondering if I should have stayed out of his charge arc, or I don't know. He needed an 11. I figured he wouldn't make it, but he did. Yeah, there's all that. That's not great. There's over here. You know, one thing we forgot about was he just rallied his Lead Belchers, but during the shooting phase, he went ahead and shot at my general. We both thought he was going to kill him, but I had a 4-up lookout sir with that unit, and I passed all but 2 of them, and he just did I think he did no wounds anyway. And after combat, yeah, he beats the fast cap pretty easily, overruns, but does not get very far. And over here, he charges. We're in a challenge with my champion and his soldermaster and his butcher, and I actually do a wound to him miraculously. He does just a couple wounds to me, not very many. I couldn't do any wounds on his troops, and we all stick. So Bretonnian turn 5. Yeah, I thought this was the coup de grace. I have a a double knight lance charge plus my general with heroic killing blow, all going to those trolls. The risk I'm taking is that he's got 4 trolls that can do the strength 5 auto hit vomit on my general, and so I'm risking that. But I'm hoping the general can get that with all these attacks. He's going to be down to having only 2 maybe that can vomit on my general, and I can withstand that, and then I should break him. The bad news is on my opponent's turn, and I knew this going into it, he got the stubborn spell cast on that unit. So I need to hurt them such that they are. I've been using this term a lot lately, but so that they're neutered in combat. Odds are I'm not necessarily going to break them. But I had this brilliant idea that I'm going to get, and that wasn't a brilliant idea. My Gauntlet of the Dual Paladin is on the front left of my topmost unit in that combat. And for some reason I was thinking he had the Virtue of Confidence, which means he has to issue and accept challenges. And he doesn't. My opponent's Battle Standard Bearer is on the very, very bottom of that unit. So I issue a challenge, and that totally shoots me in the foot. It's the hugest mistake. Because what that does is it allows his BSB to get moved up to that unit and blocks all those attacks. My topmost unit can't attack anything except for the leftmost file. They can, but none of my paladins can. It just was an epic fail. Just a dumb decision. Yeah, this looks like it's after combat. We still did a fair number of wounds. We did enough that easily would have broken them. My opponent just really kind of failed. He did vomit attacks on everybody, and I think I made some ward saves. I mean, my general didn't die, so he had 3 strength 5 attacks. I think he didn't wound with 1 or 2. Whatever it is. He did at least 1. I think he did 2 wounds on my general. But my general's still alive. My only hope now is we go to his turn, he doesn't get that same spell off again, and we just break him through combat res. And up here, yeah, I sneak another wound through. My horse, my champion's horse, sneaks another wound through on his slaughtermaster. I'm sorry, on his butcher. But yeah, other than that, I'm losing combat, and I'm just sticking. So Ogre turn 6. He countercharges his lead belchers into the flank of my BSB's unit, which isn't wonderful, but I don't think he's going to do enough wounds to matter, and I'm still going to be steadfast, but it does give him a lot of combat res. Yeah, there's that. Still, it's just the most epic fail here. I couldn't even reform. So my paladins, except for the one in the challenge, the other front rank, my BSBS and another paladin, with Flaming Banner affecting them, can't fight anything against the trolls to remove their regen. Ah, it's just dumb. After this combat, yeah. So after all those rounds of combat, I never did a single wound to his bulls. I mean, I was failing every fear test, but I was passing my break test. It was weird. But this time he finally won combat, and my guys broke and got ran down. And over here, yeah, I don't know who won combat this time. I think, but it doesn't matter. If he won, I was steadfast. But anyway, my general died, which you notice he's not losing many more trolls. I don't think I killed any trolls. I couldn't get any heroic killing blows off, and just couldn't do any wounds, and we're all just stuck there. So Bretonnian turn 6. I bring my knights errant into the flank of that. So I'm thinking, you know what? He got the general. He got a lot of points there, and he got another lance unit with a paladin, and he got some points there. And the whole time I've been saying he was in a challenge with my champion at the very top. It was with the paladin. He was in a challenge. Anyway, so my opponent has done a good job of getting back in it, but I think this will do it. I mean, just, I'm going to have so much combat res here. We go to the magic phase. So just to make sure, I throw 3 dice at Weissen's Wild Form on my Knight of the Realm unit, and out of 3 dice, I miscast, and it blows up. It's a small template. It kills every knight in the unit, and in so doing, it puts my prophetess to where now during combat he can get 4 of his guys, or 2 of his guys attacking my prophetess. I just gave him a 300-point knight unit and basically a 300-point prophetess. Yeah. After combat, yeah, we won by a ton. He was on Snake Eyes, so I did lose my prophetess. His lead belchers broke, and we ran them down and got those points. The trolls rolled Snake Eyes and stuck. So between the miscast and the harm that did, and the trolls rolling Snake Eyes, it's a 900-point swing. It ends up being an 11-9 victory for Bretonnia. I couldn't believe it. I thought when his man-eaters broke that I just had the game, and nope. Oh, well, whatever. You know what, though? That was a fun game. I like games like this. I felt that, I mean, our comp scores were both even, and they were both fairly soft. And so, I don't know how people feel about soft Bretonnia, but the soft Ogre list, I felt, made it a fun game to go against. You know, we didn't have these Iron Blasters doing their crazy things. You know, there wasn't a Hellheart doing its thing. There's no Crown of Command, so he had to make sure that he set up combats that he would win. And, I mean, just, I don't know. I really liked it. I like these kind of games. I think that's why I like composition systems. Anyway, I'm very, very open to list ideas because I think my list needs to be refined. I'm not happy with it yet. One thing I can say, I'm afraid to go without any spellcasters, but in a highly comped environment, I think I might be able to do it. She's a lot of points. I don't like her in with my knights because any miscast result is really, really, really bad for me. The only one that's not is an 8 or a 9 where she just takes a wound. And maybe a 10 up where she just loses wizard levels. But, you know, anything from Snake Eyes up through 7 will just absolutely obliterate whatever knight unit she's in. And like in this game, I only threw 3 dice at it. I didn't need that spell. In hindsight, I wish I didn't cast a spell. I didn't need it. But, you know, so I'm tempted to take the level 4 out. You know, I could take one on foot and give her a bodyguard of peasants, but that has its own problems. I could just go no spellcasters whatsoever. I'm open to any ideas about that, but the only reason I really want her is she gives me a chance of a ranged attack if I get either Flock of Doom and or the Amber Spear, and then magic defense. Other than that, I don't really need her, and I don't really, you know, my list is designed to overwhelm the combat phase, to jump on you quickly, pick on units, and go there. So I don't necessarily need a strong magic phase. So I'm thinking of dropping the level 4. I'm thinking of dropping the Yeoman and the Saber Tusk because I have all these paladins that also function as chaff. So I feel like I'm a little bit overloaded in the chaff department, and I'm not using the Yeoman or the Saber Tusk well anyway. And I'm thinking of dropping the Chaos Spine Beast because I don't like that he's frenzied. What I like about him is that he has regen. I really like that because it just makes him survivable. Most of the monsters in the Storm Magic book, you know, go anything against them with poison or whatever, and they just die. But I think there's some options in the Monstrous Arcanum book that will be better than that. So what I'm trying to think is, you know, what monsters could I take that would give me some synergy in my list. I like the idea that if something is just fast or can fly and can keep up with my knight lances, not only do I have 4 lances, but if I have 4 lances and a monster all in your face, it just overwhelms my opponent. You know, they can deal with 1 unit, maybe 2, but not with all of them. Other than that, yeah, I don't know. So, and I don't have access to that book. I have some fuzzy PDFs that I can't quite read, but I'm open to any suggestions. Anyway, that was it. Once Bitten here. Thanks for watching the video. I hope you enjoyed it. As you know, YouTube has several functions you can use to interact with videos such as this. You can like the video, you can leave a comment, you can favorite the video. I want you to know that I appreciate it when you do things like that. It feels much more interactive than simply me talking to a screen. So if you're willing to do so, please like, comment, and favorite the videos. Subscribe to the channel if you want, and you certainly are welcome to share this video on your blog or other websites if you are so inclined. Again, thanks for watching, hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you next time.